Alrighty, welcome back to Shop and Ball. John and I are back for the Week 16 picks against the spread, and we're just gonna dive right into it. Got a review last week though, Week 15. I got one game on John. John went 8-8. I went 9-7. Tampa Bay did not pull through for me. That would have been a nice one to have. But then there are a few others. Pittsburgh. John got Pittsburgh. I got Dallas, which is kind of ironic. Anyways, though, so I get one game back. I'm only 2 games behind John. We're still both just under 500. And we're just going to dive right into it. We made our Thursday night picks last episode, just to review in case you missed. San Francisco 49ers, they are favored by 3.5 going to the Tennessee Titans. John and I both went San Francisco. So once again, if you don't know spreads, San Francisco has to win by 4 or more for us to win. Otherwise, technically, Tennessee wins according to the spread. So we both picked San Francisco there, so no differences there. Now there's a couple games on Christmas. Right, there's two, not just one. I know this game's on Christmas.
I think there's two. I might be
two.
wrong. I don't know.
Anyway, I know this first one is obviously because it is my Green Bay Packers at Lambeau. They are favored by 7.5, hosting the Cleveland Browns. Baker Mayfield. Oh, excuse me if you saw that video. Baker Mayfield expected to be back this week. Not really sure who else they'll be getting back. But nonetheless, John, who do you feel has the advantage, or who are you just going with here?
I'm gonna go with the Packers on this one. They put up a lot of points, and I know that last week, the Ravens were able to keep up with them, but there was sort of the added surprise factor of Tyler Huntley. What's he gonna really provide you? You don't know. The Browns just have a lot of injuries, a lot of COVID cases, a lot of question marks. Just I don't know where their offense is going to come from. That's really it. So I feel confident the Packers are going to score, and I don't feel confident that Cleveland can keep up. So I'm taking I'm taking the Packers to cover against the Browns.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Browns defense hasn't been. I mean, it's been better in recent weeks, but I think the Packers were able to move the ball on them. And on the flip side, too, I think we've kind of seen this Browns offense. I know they haven't been whole due to COVID issues and such. But regardless, Packers defense has been pretty solid. And I think the formula is out there for. I know it's easier said than done, this formula, but stop the run, make Cleveland kind of one-dimensional, and they can't beat you with the drop-back pass game alone. So I'm going Green Bay as well. I expect them to win and cover that 7.5-point spread. So we're both on the same page there. Now going to the other game. Arizona Cardinals, they are at Arizona, favored by 1.5, hosting the Indianapolis Colts. How do you feel about this one?
I'm going to go with the Colts. The Colts they've been surprising a lot of people. They play good run defense. They run the ball really well. I worry about Arizona's ability to stop Jonathan Taylor. And so I feel like the Colts can put up points. And on the other side, I mean, I don't want to say that Arizona has slowed down. I don't want to overreact to the Detroit game or anything like that. But honestly, ever since Kyler got hurt, a lot of their offense has been James Conner. And against a really good run defense, we have to remain to see if that's going to be a factor. And so that could force them into pass mode. And, when Kyler's injured, he can't run as well. So maybe he doesn't roll out as much. And he's not currently injured. He's been fine. This is no shot at Kyler. But he's not playing necessarily at the level he was to start the season. They also don't have Hopkins. I don't know. I don't like this game from the perspective that I feel like the Cardinals could maybe turn the ball over a few times, and on the other side, the way the Colts play, they just don't really. And Jonathan Taylor has proven that he can beat anybody.
Yeah, I'm also going with the Indianapolis Colts for this one as well to win and cover basically at 1.5. Like you mentioned, we saw Detroit's offensive line kind of overpower San Francisco, Arizona's. And if they can do it, I think definitely the Colts can, especially the way they've been playing recently. And then, you add in Jonathan Taylor, that's just a whole nother level. And then on the flip side, too, Kyler's been kind of shaky. I think, once again, maybe injury factor. Teams are kind of, I think Cliff's starting. Teams are just starting to kind of catch up to Cliff again, so we'll see if he can re-innovate now that playoffs are coming. Both the run and pass game have been kind of just stale as of recently. But once again, I I know we're big, Cliff critics, but really hard to give him that much criticism because the past few weeks dealing with COVID, guys in and out, you probably have to keep things simple so guys know what they have to do. But nonetheless, we're just picking games here to win. We're just picking the games, so I'm going Indianapolis as well. I got a good feeling on them. They're real hot. While Arizona just feels like Arizona's just kind of surviving, just like okay, we just got to make it to the playoffs at this point. And even then, I'm not sure if they'll be on a roll. So yeah, we both go Indianapolis there. But now we go to the Sunday games. First one is the Atlanta Falcons. This is at Atlanta. They are favored by 5.5, hosting the Detroit Lions, fresh off their big win against the Cardinals. So, John, do you think that the Lions can do it again?
I'm not sure they're gonna win, but honestly, the way the Falcons have looked, I'm not sure the Falcons are gonna win either. And so, just in an iffy game, I just tend to take the underdog, take the points. The Lions, they've been competitive in a lot of their games. I don't know their record against the spread, but I'm sure it's better than their actual record because they've had games like the Niners game where they covered earlier in the year and the Ravens game where they covered. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like when it comes to the spread, the Lions are probably a lot better than most people think they would be. So I'm going to take the Lions here just because, honestly, right now in that offense, outside of Russell Gage, everybody else has kind of been struggling. Kyle Pitts hasn't been as good as earlier in the year. Cordell Patterson the last few weeks has not been very good. So it's just been Russell Gage. And, when you play Detroit, it seems to really not matter how many weapons you have because they're just a feisty team that, like you said, in our reactions, they can kind of just pound it down your throat with the run game. And it doesn't matter who they got. They got James, Craig Reynolds now, DeAndre Swift. They're running the ball with that offensive line and it's working. So yeah, I feel like especially if Jared Goff plays, I think he's on the COVID list, but if he plays, I don't know. I feel like their defense is pretty vulnerable too. So I'm going to take the Lions.
Yeah, even if it is, I think David Blau would be playing. If I could be wrong there. If
I assume it'd be him.
if it's not Goff, yeah. I'm with you though. I'm going Detroit. I think they'll at least keep it close. We saw Detroit have success running the ball, their offensive line's pretty big offensive line, physical, and Atlanta's kind of had issues with that. Had issues with that last week against San Francisco. Granted, we all know San Francisco's a whole nother level above the Detroit Lions, but there's still talent there. Dan Campbell, he's still got a creative run game. It's just they just don't have top end talent like we mentioned last episode. But yeah, he's got these guys believing, and they're just playing tough. I think a lot of these guys are just playing the hearts out to say the least. So I am going Detroit as well. Wouldn't be shocked if they win, but I think that they'll definitely cover. So we'll see. Hopefully, we are both right there. But now going to a divisional matchup in the AFC North, where the Cincinnati Bengals, they are favored by 3.5, hosting the Baltimore Ravens. As of right now, Thursday, Lamar has not practiced yet with that ankle injury, so we'll see next coming days. But John, how do you feel about this one?
This one is a tough one because they played earlier in the year. The Bengals destroyed the Ravens. You'd think that the coaching staff. Now, oftentimes when your team gets embarrassed, you're the team that's going to make a lot of changes. And on the other side, the team who embarrassed you is probably not going to make a lot of changes because they're going to think, well, it worked last time. Like, why not try it again? Obviously, there will be some tweaks here and there based on the recent game film, maybe tweaks for Tyler Huntley, stuff like that. So I almost took Baltimore, but even since the last time they played, now they're missing Marlon Humphrey, Deshaun Elliott. I can't remember if Ronnie Staley even played in that game. And now even potentially if Lamar doesn't play again, and I think Tyler Huntley's honestly the perfect backup for them. Like he fits their style and is a very very good replica of Lamar. He's not Lamar, but he's done a fantastic job in place of him. So it's not even necessarily about him, but it's just I feel like that Ravens defense, they didn't have an answer for Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase last time, and I'm not sure they're going to have one for them this time. So I think it's going to turn into a shootout, and in that case, I like the fully healthy offense with the loaded weapons being Cincinnati.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head there. Just health is the biggest issue for the Ravens right now. And for Cincinnati, I mean, Joe Burrow kind of joked about it, but they're relatively healthy and COVID free, so they have a lot of their guys still available. And yeah, it just feels like Baltimore. the season's just kind of coming to an end, and it's just unfortunate that all this has happened for them. Lamar's injury and just all the injuries in general. So, yeah, I as well with John, I'm going Cincinnati there. Honestly, was surprised it wasn't a little bit more too because it's at Cincinnati, but maybe just because they've been so inconsistent all year, or maybe Vegas doesn't really believe in them. I don't know, but I thought it'd be like a 5 or 6 point spread there, but maybe just giving credit to John Harbaugh too because we thought Green Bay was going to be a blowout game,
Yeah,
and
they
it was
fought.
right down to wire. So what do we know? But now going next one here is the LA Rams. They are favored by 3.5 going to the Minnesota Vikings. Who do you like here?
I'm gonna take the Rams. This one's tough for me because I like the Vikings, but Dalvin Cook just got ruled out due to COVID. There's not a big drop off from him to Madison. Not that Madison's even close to him, but just like production wise, they do a really good job of getting Madison involved. And I think it helps that they have some stud receivers. I believe Adam Thielen's going to be back. Don't quote me on that. But I don't know. That Vikings secondary really scares me when Cooper Kupp is just playing at the level that he's playing at right now. I don't know. I just feel like Cooper Kupp is in store for another huge performance. And if he's doing that, all of a sudden, maybe Odell has a great game too. Maybe Van Jefferson gets a deep touchdown. I could just see some really big splash plays on the Rams side. And so that just has me thinking the Rams, I don't know, maybe even a late game cover, but at some point I feel like Kirk Cousins in this offense maybe just can't keep up for as long as Cooper Kupp and Stafford and that Rams offense are going to go. So I'm going to take the Rams, but it was a really tough one because I think this one could turn into a shootout.
Yeah. So I had a similar thought process. I think what I worry about, I mean, I know, obviously no Dalvin Cook, but I think as Alexander Madison is still active, right? I think he should be fine to go.
Yeah.
Still a good Vikings O line. The run game's still solid, and especially if they do get Adam Thielen back. Even if not, KJ Osborne's been pretty solid as a secondary guy because they're gonna need whoever because it's gonna be an interesting matchup. Justin Jefferson or Jalen Ramsey. And on the flip side, I am worried because a couple of years ago, I don't know if you remember, it was like the first year of Jared Goff and McVay, and they tore apart the Vikings. And yeah, I'm worried. I'm hoping that Mike Zimmer went back, maybe watched that, is adjusted from that. Obviously, it's a couple of years ago. A lot of things can change. The only thing that scares me, but regardless, I think Minnesota has enough firepower with Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson and even Alexander Madison just to keep it close. I wouldn't be shocked if they win. It's just Minnesota. Minnesota's been a tough team all year to really shake. They've always played tough and close. I mean, even if they lose for some reason against Dallas, and I forgot who you started. Was it Cooper Rush?
Cooper Rush. Yeah.
Yeah. Even then, like they were close. Just for some reason they win. And yeah, I just got a gut feeling kind of with Minnesota that they'll keep it close. Wouldn't be shocked if they win, but I think they'll definitely keep it close. But I could easily be wrong. And Kirk Cousins, does the Kirk Cousins thing that everyone says Kirk Cousins will do. So I'm hoping not, but we will see on that one. But now we go to a divisional matchup in the AFC East. The New England Patriots at Foxborough. They are favored by 2.5, hosting the Buffalo Bills. Who do you like here?
This one was definitely the hardest game of the week for me just because of what happened last time. It was tough to pick too because the weather might be a little different compared to last time. Like, the last time there was just a crazy wind and it was just absurd. But I'm going to take Buffalo here. I don't know. I just feel like Buffalo is going to be extremely motivated to want to beat the Patriots just because they've been building this whole time to beat the Patriots once Tom Brady is gone and really take over the division. And they did it last year. Then all of a sudden this year, the Patriots are right back in the fold. And you could see how upset Sean McDermott was after that game. He's pretty salty in his post-game comments. And so I just feel like this is probably a big game for motivation for Buffalo. And so I'm going to take him off of that. Wouldn't be shocked if New England won again and covered, but I'm riding that motivation and that potential hatred of the Patriots that the Buffalo Bills might have for this one.
Yeah. So I'm actually I'm going to go with New England. especially with no Cole Beasley this game. That's just less help in the passing game for Josh Allen. I'm still not impressed with the run game that they had last week. I think especially after New England. I mean, for the most part, they did pretty good on Jonathan Taylor. It's just that one big run at the end. And I think the Colts have a better just run scheme and running offense in general with their line and running backs. And yeah, I just think that Bill Belichick and that defense are just going to be all over the Bills passing. On the flip side, I mean, we saw last time they didn't really have much of a pass game, New England, and I think that they were just really playing it safe because of the wind. I expect their offense to open up a little more, and I mean, obviously, I just think that they're going to show some things that Buffalo hadn't seen because the first matchup they only threw like 3 times, so there wasn't that much to learn off of their passing concepts. So I'm going New England. I think this is where they make their stamp on the division, especially after losing last week. I expect they'll be refocused in regards to getting better seeding in the playoffs. So I'm going New England. John's going Buffalo. Second disagreement right there for you for the week. And now we go to this game. Jacksonville Jaguars. It's basically a pick 'em, but favored by half a point. At New York Jets. Second worst team from last year and the worst team from last year playing each other. How do you think this one will go?
I have no idea. I actually flipped the coin to decide because I don't know. Yeah, I just I don't know. The reason that I picked Jacksonville, which by the way I'm picking Jacksonville in this pick'em, is I just feel like James Robinson could have a good game. That's really my only rationale here. If Michael Carter was maybe a few weeks from IR, I'd be a little more excited about what I could see out of the Jets, but I just have no idea what I'm going to get out of either team. These are 2 rookie quarterbacks who I would say have struggled for the most part on this year, but these are also 2 terrible defenses. So can they make either quarterback struggle? Who knows? So I don't know. I went with the most reliable thing I could, and that is that James Robinson is good at running the ball. And so that is why I'm picking Jacksonville, but I genuinely have no idea.
Yeah, I went with more of my heart this one. Went with Zach Wilson. It haven't been many, but he's had just a few more wow plays. I think he's done this a little bit. I know he's been more harshly criticized, but I've just seen more. We've seen a lot of bad. I'm not gonna sit here and say we've seen some bad with Zach Wilson, maybe more than Trevor Lawrence, but I've seen a lot more good from Zach Wilson and some wow plays. And I imagine that they're just gonna let him loose this game because it's against the Jags, and they don't really have much in terms on the Jets side. And maybe this is a kind of a pride win. I'm just basically, at the end of the day, I think Jets slightly less poopy organization than the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jacksonville, they love their number 1 picks, and I just fired the head coach a little bit over a week ago. They're still going through all this change. So yeah, I'm going with the Jets here, even though the Jets also dealing with a lot of COVID issues, and I'm not sure of Robert Saleh's status for this game. I know he tested positive, and then they may be missing Elijah Vera Tucker, who's been playing really well for them this year. So we'll see. But I'm going Jets. So another disagreement between John and I, and who knows? This one might decide the season with our luck. This that crappy game. But now we go to your division, John, where the Philadelphia Eagles are at home and they are hosting the New York Giants. They are favored by 10.5. Who do you like here?
I'm gonna go with the Giants. Last time they played, it was just an incredibly close game, and the Giants were able to win. And I think it was kind of a fluky game because the Eagles receivers dropped, I believe, 3 touchdowns on the game, and they didn't end up scoring any of those. And I think that'll change, but I don't know. It's a divisional game. Things get ugly. 10.5 is kind of big. I don't know if I trust the Eagles to cover that big of a spread. So I'm going with the Giants.
So actually, I'm going with the Eagles. I think playing at home, Giants officially ruled Daniel Jones out for the rest of the season. We know their O-line's poor, and I just think, especially Jalen Hurts, we mentioned last episode or in the reactions, he kind of got called out, or not called out, but he bounced back after those early turnovers last week, and I think he'll carry that momentum into this week, especially did really well throwing the ball as well as running the ball, and he was just coming off the ankle injury, so I'm assuming he'll be even more healthy this week. So I just got a good feeling on Philly. I feel like they're just quietly moving along in the wild card race, and I'm not saying that they'll be a Super Bowl contender, but they're a tough out for a lot better teams than the Giants. So I'm going with Philly. I think they'll cover, and it's a hill I'm willing to die on there. So another disagreement. John went Giants. I went Philadelphia. So hopefully they cover. With my luck, they won't. But now, keeping it the spread at 10.5 points, we go to another divisional matchup with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They are favored by 10.5 going to Carolina. I believe Matt Rules, he said Cam will start, but like Darnold will play. It's very confusing. Nonetheless, what are your thoughts on this game?
I'm going to go with Tampa Bay. I know that they don't have Chris Godwin. They're not going to have Leonard Fournette. I don't know the status of Mike Evans, but they get Antonio Brown back. Ronald Jones is more than serviceable in my opinion. And simply put, I just feel like the Panthers are going to want to run the ball with Cam, with Chuba Hubbard, with Amir Abdullah, whoever it is. And the Buccaneers have a really good run defense. And on the other side, like I said, I just don't feel comfortable with whatever's going on at quarterback over there. So I'm taking Tampa. I could be wrong because once again, divisional games, they get ugly, but I don't know. Carolina, unfortunately, just has become really inconsistent this end of the year.
Yeah. Trust me, I've been burned by Carolina plenty of times, but this may be the last time. I'm going with Carolina. This is a team that played Tampa pretty close in the two games last year. I know one kind of got away from them in the second half, and I just feel like too with the way Matt Rule's talking about, I may use Sam Darnold. I just feel like they're gonna pull out a few trick plays, things like that. Really try to pounce on the Bucks while they're down. From getting skunked last week. I don't think they'll win, but I just think that they'll keep it close. This is kind of a pride game, maybe field goal game, or for Matt Rule, apparently it may be kind of a prove it game. Like, hey, we can hang with the Bucks. We're almost with them. It's just, it's just a few pieces away. So I'm going Carolina. I really hope I don't get burned by them again, but unfortunately I can't say I'd be shocked if I was. So there we go. Another disagreement there for us. Don't think we'll be disagreeing much on this next game. LA Chargers, they are favored by 10.5 going to the Houston Texans. Basically, do you think the Chargers will cover, John?
Yeah. I can't remember which game it was. I think it was when they played the Bills earlier in the year. I took the Texans. I think I took them against the Colts. There was a couple different like huge spreads where I took the Texans and they burned me a few times earlier in the year. And ever since then, I'm not doing it. And so this is the exact same. I'm not touching it. I don't care if Eckler plays or if he doesn't. I don't care. Like the only thing that could maybe make me switch the pick is if Herbert was all of a sudden out. But if he's playing, I don't care who the playmakers are. They should cover.
Yeah, hit right in the head. And the Chargers defense, solid. I know they got beat by Kansas City last week, but we mentioned on the field a lot. The offense didn't do them any favors by not getting points. And yeah, this is the Houston Texans. They got Davis Mills. No offense to Davis, but they got their own issues sorting out. So I'm going with the LA Chargers as well to cover. So that one was easy. Now we go to Seattle, where the Seattle Seahawks are at home. They are favored by 6.5, hosting the Chicago Bears. How do you feel about this one?
I'm gonna go with Seattle here. I don't love either team's offense, but I just feel a little bit more comfortable with Seattle because Tyler Lockett's gonna come back, and so this could be sort of similar to like when they played the Texans. The Bears are not as bad as the Texans, but like they're not very good defensively outside of, Robert Quinn and Roquan Smith, maybe Jalen Johnson. Most of their defense has just been pretty bad this year. And so I don't know. This sort of feels like when Tyler Lockett and Russell Wilson just shredded the Texans a few weeks ago. I could see the same thing happening here. And Seattle's defense is weird because like they're not very good, but at the same time they're kind of feisty in some games and they have some randomly good defensive performances. Wouldn't be shocked if that was the case this week, just because I don't know, the Bears just have a lot of issues.
Well, I'm going with Chicago. I don't think they'll win, but I think they'll keep it close. Seattle, I don't think Seattle's offense is good enough to take fully advantage of Chicago's defense. I think they'll have their moments, but also too, I think especially with Justin Fields, he seems to be getting more. I know that hasn't been translating to many wins, but he's gaining more and more polish as a thrower and as a passer in the NFL. And once again, we criticize Matt Nagy, and I still want more. But they've been finding ways to get Jakeem Grant involved. It's not the best ways of getting their best playmakers the ball, but they're trying. I'll give them credit there. So I think, especially with no Jamal Adams, just lack of talent really in Seattle's defense. I think Chicago will keep it close, but I think Seattle wins. Obviously within the spread. So it'll be kind of close, but not really. I think Seattle will be in control most of this game. So, Seattle will be in control, but Chicago will keep it close. So kind of throwing the needle there for me with that one. I'm going Chicago. John's going Seattle. So we'll see if the Bears can hang around. But now going over to Kansas City, where the Kansas City Chiefs, they are favored by 7.5, hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers. Where's your head at here, John?
I'm going with the Chiefs here. They're looking good the last couple of weeks, and honestly, the reason I'm picking them is their defense. I just don't really believe in Big Ben and that offense's ability to beat that defense. I think like Deontay Johnson could have a good game, but like Chase Claypool has been weirdly seen a decrease in snaps the last like 3 or 4 weeks. It might be related to the comments about music and the fourth down. I don't know. Maybe it's some punishment from Mike Tomlin. Obviously, Juju's still out. Najee Harris is there, but it's tough to be efficient with that offensive line, which is still an issue. Big Ben is he's hit or miss. So I just feel way more confident in the Chiefs' ability to get going at some point, even against the Steelers defense that has been good, but not necessarily the level that we expect them to be.
Yeah, it's kind of fortunate for Kansas City. It just feels like that their streak's going to keep going. They're just going to keep trucking along and then figure it out one of these games. Although I don't think it'll be this one. Pittsburgh's defense is pretty good. Nonetheless, I think they will cover. We mentioned Kansas City's defense has been a surprising bright spot in recent weeks. And, I mean, we saw Pittsburgh's offense last week. They did not win that game because of their offense. They won that game because of their defense. And I just think especially Kansas City is not Tennessee. Mahomes is better than Tannehill. And even if they don't have Tyreek Hill, I still think their receivers are better than what Tennessee trotted out that last week, obviously with Julio Jones out. So I'm going Kansas City as well. I think this is, easy and done with, and this ends Pittsburgh's playoff hopes, which I'm not sure if it does mathematically, but essentially for me, I think. So we both go Kansas City there. Whoops. Both go Kansas City to cover that spread. And now we go to the last game of the afternoon slot on Sunday. The Denver Broncos, they are favored by 1.5, hosting the Las Vegas Raiders. AFC West matchup. Who do you have here?
I'm going to go with the Broncos here. I know it might be Drew Lock at quarterback, but earlier in the year against the Raiders, the Broncos and Teddy Bridgewater, he actually had the most yards he had all year, the most passing attempts. Like he was doing very well against the Raiders defense. And also, I really like the matchup for Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon. I think they could have success here. So I don't know. I just like what I'm seeing out of the Broncos, where like the Raiders, like they feel iffy. Like I talked about last week when they played Cleveland on that weird, I think it was Monday. I believe it was the Monday game. Cleveland's just missing like half their team and coaches due to COVID, and the Raiders need like a last second field goal to beat them. And they only put up like 17 points. I think that Denver's defense is better than Cleveland's. And I think that Denver ultimately, I don't know. I like what I'm going to see out of their playmakers, specifically the two running backs in this game. So I'm going to take the Broncos.
The status is Teddy clear. I know he had a concussion from last game.
I don't know.
I'm trying to find out right now. Sorry.
Everything I've read looks like Drew Lock, but I haven't like read anything that said specifically like, oh yeah, Teddy's not playing. I'm just kind of
he's already been ruled out.
Okay, yeah.
Anyways, that leads to what I was going to mention for my pick. It's Denver, like you mentioned, all great points. My worry and this should be surprising coming from the quote unquote president of the Drew Lock fan club, is that my worry is Drew Lock. I feel like he's gonna he's just gonna make a mistake or two that is not needed in a very critical time, and basically I can't trust Drew Lock. And on the other side, Derek Carr is still there. I know it hasn't been perfect, but he's still been trying to manage games, keep almost at Oakland, the Raiders, in games, getting the right plays. And then there's still some playmakers on the Raiders, not great ones, but I think Max Crosby, even though Denver has had a good line, or does have a good offensive line, I think, especially if they get behind late in the game, they're just going to be teeing off on Drew Lock. And end of the day, just not confident in Drew Lock to not make a bad choice. So I'm going with Las Vegas Raiders here, especially since it's also at Las Vegas. I think that'll help them as well. So another one, another disagreement for us. Hopefully that goes my way. But now we go to your game, John. Sunday night, your Dallas Cowboys at Dallas, favored by 10.5, hosting the Washington football team. I forget. It's Garrett Gilbert, right, playing for Washington?
Well, he played last game.
Week.
I've heard Heineke should be back in time. Okay. I don't know that for a fact, though.
Sorry.
Don't quote me.
The Tuesday games threw me off because I'm trying some of the things there I'm remembering now. So don't listen to me. May have Taylor Heineke, but John, how do you feel about this one?
I feel pretty good. I'm operating under the assumption that Heineke does play. If he doesn't, I feel like that's an added bonus for the Cowboys. I think they should win this one pretty easily. Their defense has just shown that they're a force to be reckoned with, especially against the conference opponents who just don't have great offenses. And Washington, they have playmakers like Terry McLaurin, like Antonio Gibson, but you're missing Logan Thomas. J.D. McKissick has been in and out. Heineke's a great story, but I wouldn't say that he's necessarily like a starting NFL quarterback. He's a solid backup, but he just wasn't able to do much against Dallas last time simply because the pass rush kept getting there. So I feel pretty confident that Dallas is going to be able to do the same thing, cause some turnovers, cause some havoc in the backfield. And on the other side, I mean, I'd love for this to be a game where they bounce back offensively. I'm not sure it will be, but I think they're still definitely able to put up points. So going with Dallas.
Yeah, I'm going with Dallas also. Basically, you mentioned everything you mentioned was what I was kind of going to say, and then also Washington. I think they're still dealing with a bunch of COVID issues too, so I don't even know who's going to be in and out for the most part. I mean, I know they still have like Antonio Gibson for now, but he hasn't had a great year. And Terry McLaurin, we all know is good, but like John mentioned, like even is it Taylor Heineke, regardless of the quarterback, the ones they have on the roster don't really excite you that much in terms of getting the ball. And then obviously they lost Logan Thomas. So, and then we all know about their defense, lost Chase Young. Defense has kind of been finding their way here and there throughout the season. So I'm going with Dallas with John also. I think that they'll win and cover. And, Dallas still playing for the playoffs while Washington at this point, I don't even want to say pride, but who knows? So I am going with Dallas, and John's going with Dallas. Now we go to the Monday night game, last game of the Week 16, where the Miami Dolphins, they are favored by 1.5, going to the New Orleans Saints. I forget. So there's still a chance Taysom Hill could play Sunday?
I believe he's been officially ruled out.
Okay.
I don't know if that's.
I think it's applied also.
That was through one of my fantasy apps. Yeah, it was through fantasy apps that I saw he was out because I had him in my fantasy league, our league. So I don't know if that was just the app saying he's out or what's going on there.
But nonetheless, what do you have for this one?
Okay, so just for Taysom Hill real quick, it says if he is vaccinated and asymptomatic, he will be eligible to play. But the Saints already seem to be proceeding as though neither he nor top backup Trevor Siemian will be available to return. So maybe he's not vaccinated, maybe he is and he has symptoms. I don't know. Regardless, if they're operating on the assumption he's not playing, I am too. And so I'm assuming Ian Book is playing in this game, and maybe the line hasn't changed because of the Taysom news yet. I don't know what the line technically is, once that got broke, but if it has,
I think I got this like an hour before
then
5:30, so I
it
think it
probably has
did.
because Vegas is pretty quick
And
when it
technically,
comes
the
to
home
changing this.
team, y'all can get 3.5 points,
That's the
so
other thing
that
I
makes most.
forgot.
So that's
New Orleans,
probably
yeah.
what.
So New Orleans is the home team, and I feel like they might have been favored. Oh, they probably were favored. With Taysom there, even regardless of home. Anyway, yeah, I'm taking Miami here. 1.5. It's almost a pick 'em. I mean, maybe you squeak by with a 1 point win, but I don't expect that to happen. Miami has just been very efficient offensively. Tua doesn't put the ball in harm's way very much. And defensively, they just send a lot of blitzes at you. And if it's Ian Book back there, I don't expect that to change. I think Brian Flores is going to be incredibly aggressive. And I mean, I liked Ian Book in college at Notre Dame, but in your first NFL game, they don't have very good weapons outside of Alvin Kamara. Like, I mean, Deontay Harris is pretty fast, but like it would just be nicer if you had like Michael Thomas there to really be a solid safety blanket outside of just Kamara. And so I feel like this allows Miami to really just tee off on Ian Book. I still don't know even the status of their offensive tackles. I know they've been dealing with injuries. So it could be a rough one for the Saints. I think their defense can definitely keep them in it, but I don't think they can hold on long enough against a pretty efficient offense like Miami, who, I mean, I think they'll have a pretty safe floor of putting up like at least 17 points to where Kenny and Book in that offense do it. I don't know. It just depends on what Alvin Kamara can do.
Yeah, I initially had New Orleans, but when I saw Ian Book was probably going to be the quarterback, and then also I saw the other injury guys out, Malcolm Jenkins, also on the COVID list, and then also like you mentioned, the tackles questionable. Marcus Davenport popped up on the injury report today at their defensive end, but so just a lot of bad things going New Orleans' way. So I went to Miami. Also, like John mentioned, Miami a lot of disguise blitzes where they have 7, 8 guys at the line of scrimmage, and they're most of the time they send 4, but you don't know which 4, and it really can screw up with your protections, and especially if it's Ian Book. I'm just no offense to Ian Book, I just don't think he'll be able to get a feel for what they're going to do, what they're going to be doing, how to get the guys in the right places to block for pass pro. Whereas Taysom Hill, I feel like although he hasn't had that much experience at quarterback at the NFL level, simplifies things. Maybe they say, you know what, doesn't matter if they're blitzing. We have some creative runs in case they do or don't. So yeah, I'd rather be wrong betting against Ian Book than bet on Ian Book. So I am going with Miami as well for this one, as I can't wait to hear how the Tua fans or just Miami fans, because I feel like Tua's gonna have another mid game, because just can't wait to see how oh man, he's doing great, which he might this game, but who knows? But I'm going Miami as well. So those are the picks for the week. We had quite a few disagreements there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Are you wrong? Yeah, 6. 6 disagreements. I'm only 2 games back behind John, so either I catch up, nothing happens, or John gets a bigger lead. So